Hello from Halifax. This is Joe with Joe to the World Creations, and today we're going to be making my easy cowl crochet pattern. All the details such as the yarn used and hook size, as well as step-by-step written instructions are all available for free on my website, or you can purchase the print-ready ad-free PDF, and there are links to both in the description below this video. But right now we're going to get right to the video tutorial. So the first thing we're going to do is make a slip knot. So I've made a loop. I'm going to pull my yarn through the loop and pull tight and place my slip knot onto my hook and once again pull tight. This cowl is made from the chain row up, meaning that the number of starting chains is what determines the length of the cowl. For a cowl that is approximately 30 inches long, you will chain 119. If you want to adjust that length, make a different number of starting chains in multiples of 4 plus 3. So to make a cowl that is approximately 30 inches long, we are going to chain 119. I'm using my H hook, which is the same hook I'm going to be using for the whole pattern, but some people like to go up one hook size for the starting chains only, because in row 1 we're going to be working into the back ridge loops, and sometimes those can be a little tight. So if you find they're a little tight, you're welcome to go up one hook size for the starting chains only. I don't, but some people do. So with our slip knot now on our hook, we're going to start chaining. So that's 1 chain, 2, 3, and you're going to keep doing this until you've got 119 starting chains. For this video, I'm only going to be making a small swatch, but you go ahead and make your 119 starting chains and come back to the video and we will do row 1 together. With our starting chains now complete, let's start row 1. For row 1, we are going to be working into the back ridge loops, also known as the back bumps of the chain. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. We're going to be working into the second chain from the hook. So that's the first chain, this is the second. Right here is the top loop, and this is the bottom loop. If you slightly twist your chain, you can see that there is these bumps along the back, and these are the back ridge loops that we're going to be working into. So in the second chain from hook, in the back ridge loop, we're going to make 1 single crochet, and it can be a little tight, but we just put our hook in and now we single crochet. Now we are going to chain 2. 1, 2. In the next chain, the very next chain, so I'll just make sure I know exactly where I'm working here. So this back ridge loop right here is the next chain. Into that next chain, we are going to be making 2 double crochet stitches. So yarn over, insert our hook into that back ridge loop and double crochet. In the same back ridge loop that we just worked into, we're going to make another double crochet stitch into the same chain. Yarn over, insert our hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull our yarn through 2 loops, yarn over, pull our yarn through all the loops. So we've just made a single crochet, we've chained 2 and then made 2 double crochet stitches in the next chain. Now we're going to skip the next 2 chains. So skip this one and skip the next one, and into the following one we are going to single crochet, always working into the back ridge loops. So we're going to single crochet. Now we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and into the very next chain we're going to make 2 double crochet stitches into that same chain. So here's one, and then we're going to make another in the exact same chain. Then we're going to repeat what we just did all the way across. We're going to skip the next 2 chains. In the following chain, make a single crochet, chain 2, and in the next chain, 2 double crochet stitches. So just really quickly, skip 2, in the following chain, single crochet, chain 2, and then make 2 double crochet stitches into the next chain. And you're going to repeat that all the way across. So skip the next 2, make a single crochet stitch into the next chain, 2 double crochet stitches into the next, and then come back to the pattern as you're nearing the end of the row, and we will do that together. So I'm nearing the end of my row right now. I've just made my my 2 double crochet stitches into a chain. Now I'm going to skip the next 2 chains, so I only have 2 left. In the second last chain, we're going to single crochet and chain 2. In the next, which is the last chain, in the very last chain, we're going to make 2 double crochet stitches into that last chain. And 2. You can always pull the starting point tight, and that completes row 1. If you want to count your stitches, count only the stitches that we've made, not the chain 2. So chains in this pattern never count as stitches. So only count the double crochet and the single crochet stitches that we've made. If you chained 119 to begin with, if that was your number of starting chains, at the end of row 1, you should have 90 stitches. Now let's start row 2. To start row 2, we are going to chain 1 and turn. We are not going to work into the first 2 stitches. So we're going to skip. This is the chain. Right here is the chain that I just made right here. We're going to skip this stitch that's attached to the chain, and we're going to skip the next stitch, not work into that either. We're going to work directly into the chain 2 space that's next to those 2 stitches. So whenever we've chained 2, it's created this space that we're going to work into for the rest of the pattern. Into this chain 2 space, we are going to do a number of things, all into this one space, this chain 2 space here. First thing we're going to do is single crochet. So I'm going right into this big hole. I'm going to single crochet. Now I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2, and into the very same chain 2 space, I'm going to make 2 double crochet stitches. So 1 and 2. Now we're not going to work into the tops of any other stitches, so technically we're skipping the next 3 stitches because we're not working into any of those. We're going to go directly to the next chain 2 space. Into that chain 2 space, we're going to do the exact same thing that we just did. We are going to single crochet, chain 2, and double crochet twice into the same space. That's my first double crochet and my second. And you're going to repeat that all the way across. So in every chain 2 space, we are going to single crochet, chain 2, and make 2 double crochet stitches. So do this all the way across, and when you get to the very last part of the pattern, or part of the row I should say, come back to the video and we'll do that together. At the end of the row, there is one last chain 2 space, and it's right here at the end. And we actually don't do anything differently in this last chain 2 space. We treat it exactly the same as all the others. Into that last chain 2 space, we are going to single crochet, chain 2, and make 2 double crochet stitches into this last chain 2 space. At the end of row 2, you should have a total of 90 stitches. And again, these chain 2s don't count as stitches. No chains do. Only count the double and single crochet stitches all the way across. And you should always have a total of 90 stitches on each row. For row 3 and on, we are going to repeat the exact same thing that we just did with row 2. And we're going to repeat row 2 for the rest of the pattern. So as a quick summary, so this is for row 3 and on, we are going to start each row by chaining 1 and turning. Skip the first 2 stitches into the first chain 2 space, single crochet, chain 2, and make 2 double crochet stitches into the same chain 2 space. You're going to do that in each chain 2 space. So going right to the next one and doing the exact same thing into the next one all the way across. Your last chain 2 space is right here at the very end of the row, and you do the exact same thing into it. Single crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochet stitches. Each row has 90 stitches, and you just do the exact same thing for each row. So you're going to repeat row 2 over and over again until your work measures approximately 6 inches high. So 6 inches from start to finish. That is approximately 12 rows, but you can make more rows or less rows. You can make the width whatever you like. Just please end on an even number row. So if it's not row 12, end on row 14 or end on row 10, just so that you end on an even number. Then come back to the video and we'll keep going. So after you finish your last row, which is an even number row, all you need to do now is fasten off, leaving a good, I like to leave an 8-inch tail to weave in your ends, and then pull your yarn through the loop to fasten off. And then you're going to weave in all your loose ends using a yarn needle, and just keep note of where this last stitch is. Maybe put a safety pin in it or something, because what we're going to do when we want to attach the buttons is we want this very last stitch to be flipped over on the other side, so that your very last stitch is on the top right, and your starting tail, it won't be here because it'll be all weaved in, but that will be on the bottom left. So this is the position we want for your cowl before we put the buttons on. So once you're finished, it's more going to look like this. This was my very last stitch that I completed. It is now on the top right, and where I started is on the bottom left. So now we're going to take 3 20mm buttons and attach them to right here on the bottom left-hand side of the cowl. And I was able to put my yarn through a needle to put the buttons on, but you may need to use thread if the eyes of your buttons are too small. And where these buttons should go is the first button is approximately 1 inch away from the end. And then the buttons are approximately 1.5 inches apart from each other from the ends of the buttons. And they are all approximately 1 inch from the bottom. So you go ahead and attach those here and come back to the video. So with your buttons now attached, there are no specific buttonholes, but I'm just going to show you how to button it up. So I've just folded it over like this, and and I'm going to flip it over so it's a little easier to see. There are so many natural spaces for the buttons to go that I didn't find that it needed actual buttonholes. So I found wherever the buttons were, there was a natural place for them to come through the other side like this. And that way it's just really easy, and the buttonholes won't get stretched out, so that this can be long lasting. And you just find that natural space, pull the buttons through, and you have a brand new cowl. I hope you enjoyed making this pattern. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.